Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. My name is Melissa Tui, and we're going to go ahead and jump right in with our introductions. Again, my name is Melissa Tui. I'm the Ed Tech and Adoption Specialist here at Ozobot. Actually, I'm the Director of Education. It is a newly assigned role for me, so I'm really excited to be here with you all today. I'm a former teacher. And when I'm not at Ozobot, I'm at UCLA pursuing my doctoral degree where I'm studying computer science implementation in elementary school settings. I'm joined with Anthony. Anthony, if you want to introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll just quickly start with the congratulations on the Director of Education role to Melissa. And then excited to have you all here. I know school year is winding down and we have Memorial Day weekend right around the corner. So really appreciate y'all being here. My role is I'm the account executive supporting 11 states and start off with Ozobot in 2015, start off on the digital marketing team. Got to learn a lot of how marketing automation works and was kind of my introductory into what computer science concepts and stuff like that. Definitely a technology enthusiast, a lifelong learner. Adam Hill did one of our webinars. I ended up following him on Instagram. He talked about the elements. So that's the book I'm reading right now. I'm an aspiring content creator. I put that so that somebody will hold me accountable at some point. And I'm training for my first ultra marathon in June 5th, right around the corner.
Wow, congrats. Can't wait to hear all about that, Anthony. Cool. So what we're going to do today is we'll go over some housekeeping items. We'll give you an introduction to Ozobot and talk about our 2 ways to code, where Anthony will demo our 2 ways to code. I'll cover our remote friendly lessons and content that you can implement in the classroom. Then we'll go and have our Q&A session and end with a giveaway. So before we get started, I do want to go over some housekeeping items. Everyone in the audience, you're on mute and your camera is off, but we'd love for you to join the conversation. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and post them in Q&A. You can also upvote and comment on one another's questions with your own insights. And we'd love for you to participate in the chat. Feel free to introduce yourself and start a dialogue, and make sure to select all panelists and attendees in that to field so that everyone can see your messages. We have Ozobot staff members monitoring the chat to help answer any questions you might have. And if you are interested in a recording of today's webinar, we will have them on our YouTube channel and our webinar page. And if you opt in for updates, you will receive them by the email. You'll get our recording and the slides by email. Great. So we'll go ahead and get started with our giveaway. One lucky winner is going to win an educator entry kit. So if you go to ozo.bot/giveaway, there'll be one bot that we are giving away, and we're asking that each attendee only enter once, and we will announce the winner at the end of the webinar. So take it away, Anthony.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa, for getting us started. And I guess the first question that comes to mind is why robotics? So we have kind of 4 benefits here. Number 1, robots are a great vehicle for delivering computer science education. This is a space Melissa knows a lot about, but according to now well-known Gallup poll, 9 out of 10 parents want their kids to learn computer science. And I'm guessing that's why so many of y'all have invested in Ozobot, because it's important to your both parents and the students and their futures. The second benefit is hands-on STEAM learning. It's not just STEM, it's STEAM education. We can really incorporate the arts aspect, and it's that hands-on tangible experience. It's something where we can have real-world applications of learning. And, we just had a COVID year, a lot of screen time, and having that hands-on experience is just something that we really need at this moment in time. The third benefit is having those future-ready skills. We have the computer science, we have the STEM, we have the STEAM. But we also know that 65% of jobs in the future, we don't know what those look like. So there's other skills involved, and those 4 C's with creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and then lastly, last but not least, I should say, social emotional well-being. It's the pure excitement of working with something with a robot. How often do students get to say that they do work with a robot that fits in the palm of their hand? And I think one of our certified educators said it best: when I place a robot in front of a learner, what I see on their face is joy. And how cool is it to bring joy into the classroom? So with that, we can jump into what is Ozobot. Y'all have Ozobot, so we'll do this at a very high level. We were launched at CES in 2014. Our mission on that day is the same as it is right now. And it's, we believe that it's more fun to create with technology than to simply consume with it. So we created this robotic platform that makes it simple for y'all to teach STEAM and coding and integrate into all these different subjects. And it's all powered with our little robots where students learn through play. And now we're in 30,000 plus schools, and 95% of our users report increased engagement. And it's been an incredible journey. So how does it work? We all have our 1-inch robots already. We'll dive into kind of the different features in there. It is Bluetooth enabled, has quite a few sensors. We have 2 ways to code. We're really known for color codes and line following, and that's an amazing introductory, but we also have Ozoblockly. It's our visual programming editor. If you use Scratch or code.org, it'll look pretty similar to that. And then we have our full ecosystem of lessons in our lesson library, 500 plus. Half of those generated by Melissa and her at Grade Education Team and their experience, and another about 50% from the educator community and what they're actually using in the classroom, which is of course also reviewed by Melissa to make sure it's something that's useful for y'all. And with that, we can dive into the 2 ways to code. What I would recommend, I'm going to be doing most of it on, oh, perfect. That makes it easy. So hopefully I can get this to balance just right. Usually it's much easier than this, but it's one of those things when it knows there's a lot more people watching than normal, it's gonna be a challenge. We'll backtrack and get it there, perfect. And I'm gonna grab an Evo, and I should have did this first, but we can do it from this angle. So this is Evo. This should look somewhat familiar. This is our 1-inch robot. It has a micro USB charger in the back. Power button is hidden here right over the left wheel. If we turn it on, we'll notice it has 5 LEDs in the front, 1 on top, has 2 infrared sensors in the front and in the back, so it can detect objects around it. Sorry, working on that camera angle. And then on the bottom, it has those optical sensors. So that's how it's able to do the line following, all the color codes. You'll see this top row detects the line, and then there's another optical sensor right below that detects the color below it. Other than that, there's a speaker inside, and it's Bluetooth enabled. So there's a lot of technology inside this little robot. But we'll get started with color codes. And so right now we just have a blank piece of paper and some Ozobot markers. Our markers are the ideal color and width, but you can use almost any marker with Ozobot. First thing that we always recommend doing is calibrating your robot. So we're just gonna do, normally what we say is a black circle. I just try and do a square to cover the whole robot. And I'm almost there, we'll do it a little bit more. And what we're doing is calibrating Evo so that it knows true black from true white. And we'll do that by placing Evo on that spot, holding the power button until it flashes white, and then it'll do its little calibration. Hopefully it flashes green, and we have success. And one of the things that we can get started doing is having students experiment. So students can draw a line and place the robot on the line and see what happens. And we can see that Evo follows that line, but we have 3 other colors, right? So we can play with those. So we can do a red line, green line, and the blue line. And if we try that, it still follows the line, but hopefully you can see it. Also, the LEDs on the robots change. So really nice, easy way to just show an input of a certain color results in an output of it following the robot and also changing that LED. But we're really famous for color code. So we can follow the line, it changes colors. But what if we do different sequences of colors? We have 30 different commands, and one of my favorites, do you have one that you like, Melissa? Hopefully I can know that code offhand.
Ooh, turbo.
Turbo, perfect. Well, okay, I know Nitro Boost offhand, so it's the same effect. I got to do my studying beforehand so that I can know them like that.
You'd
The
think
nice,
after all our time, we'd have them
yeah.
memorized, but I also don't have them.
The nice thing is we have a handy resource on that highlights all of our color codes. So it's nice, something that you can access within Ozobot Classroom and that you can use on an ongoing basis. And printable for your students. And we can place Evo back on there. And this is our Nitro Boost code, blue, green, red. And if we place it on the line, it does a Nitro Boost. Hopefully you saw it speed up, the lights interact. And those are kind of the basic components of color codes. We have a super simple activity. We're going to program Evo from the start point to one of our subjects. Naturally, if we place Evo at an intersection, it'll make a random decision. But we see we have a little color code bank here. And we're going to tell Evo which way to go to get to one of these options: science, technology, engineering, art, or math. I'll let Melissa, oh no, sorry. Let's have somebody throw it in the chat. Which one do we want to go to? Science, technology, engineering, art, or math? First one, and we'll do that. No pressure. Science, perfect. So if we look at science, it's at the very top. And we're gonna make sure we take Evo's perspective. So if Evo is trying to get to science, do you want Evo to go straight or left? And we're gonna have Evo go left. And if we look at the color code for that, it's green, black, red. Evo will continue on this path, and it only has one option here, so it'll naturally know to follow it. And then if we want to get to science again at this intersection, it looks like another left. So we have it pretty simple. We green, black, red both times, and I'll fill those in on my end. So you'll see that we started off on a blank piece of paper, and then we also have printable activities. So there's a variety of ways you can use color codes. These are nice because these are already designed for you, and there's a lot of lessons that have it. We also see a lot of educators will just get butcher paper, have students tell stories, talk about life cycles, all kinds of fun stuff. So we have green, black, red for both options. We'll place. That's a Wednesday Evo spin effect that I just made up. We'll place Evo from the start and try and get it to science. And you'll see the lights interacted as it read that color code. And we're going to land right on science. Ta-da! So hopefully that gave you an idea of color codes. Went over line following, a speed color code with the Nitro Boost, and then a directionality color code to get to science, thanks to Bill's help. The other way to program Evo is Ozobot, and it's our visual programming editor. And I'll share my, perfect. I will share my screen. And then can you all see Ozobot editor? Perfect.
Yes.
So we have 5 different skill levels. Level 1 is pre-reader. So I know we had K through college. So for the pre-reader range, K1, maybe transitionary K2, all of these blocks are purely icon based. So this speed, distance, rotation, general movements, light effects, pauses or waiting, and sounds. So happy, sad. I always love these little icons. As we progress through modules, you'll see that we have or as we progress through levels, you'll see that we add different modules. So now we have the sensors, so we can say if there's an object in front, do X, Y, Z. Similarly, if there's an object behind, we have logic and loops. And at the highest level, we get into math, variables, functions, arrays, lists, items that Melissa plays with every day, and I'm still questioning how they work, but they are there. And then even something as simple as movement gets more defined. So now we're doing distance in millimeters, speed is in millimeters per second, rotation is in degrees. So lots of ways for you to level this from K through college. And even pre-K, even though we don't promote that, we're used in a lot of pre-Ks as well. So it's amazing to see how Ozobot is being used. Let's just pull some blocks so that we have something. One thing that's nice is we also have a glossary. So just make sure auto help is on. You can click or tap any block and it'll let you know how it works. And then you can preview the JavaScript as well. And you'll notice that it's highlighted whichever one that I click, so you know what that looks like. But we're gonna do a little challenge using Evo's infrared sensors. So we'll go to sensors and we'll just do if an object is behind. And so if we look at Evo, it has those proximity sensors, right? 2 in the front, 2 in the back. And what we're gonna do is play a game where we want to program Evo. We're playing a game of tag and we want Evo to run away when something is behind it, right? Because you don't want to get tagged. So we have our if an object is behind, do. And so I think the next thing to do would be movement. I know when I play tag, probably running straight is best, but I tend to zigzag because I think it's more fun. And hopefully they fall because I'm fast. So we'll do a zigzag. Maybe we'll do another 5 steps just to make sure we're away from them. We'll go very fast. And then let's do a sound because we got away and we are happy. And this looks good at a glance, but I do want to add loops. And we're gonna do this forever. And then how do we upload the program? There's 2 ways. One is using Bluetooth. So that is an easy way. So you just click connect. I don't think you see it in my window, but there an option to connect via Bluetooth showed up, and I will choose that robot. And you'll see that Evo is connected. And as soon as I click run program, that program is running. The other way is to flash load it. You would calibrate Evo to this white circle, just like we did on paper, so that Evo knows the brightness of your screen. It can figure out the colors. And then you would load Evo by placing it on what looks like the robot's footprint. But I will stop sharing. And we'll play this game of not dropping the webcam again. Oh, so close. Let's do this. And like that. So we have Evo here. And I'm going to click run program. And now as soon as now it's juking. It's trying to get away from the hand very fast. It's zigzagging. And hopefully you could hear that happy sound. That was a really quick example of Ozobot uploading via Bluetooth. Hopefully that was helpful. I think I should know what's next. Cool. I'll share my screen. Whoop. You guys are going flying. Sorry. Last chance to enter. Oh, yeah, 1 minute ago. If you haven't entered the giveaway, it was posted. The link again was posted 1 minute ago. So make sure you do that. Even though y'all have bots, might as well enter to get another one. Awesome. So we went over our 2 ways to code with color codes and Ozobot. Really, it's something that at the end of the day, the real benefit is flexibility. It's something you can use across grade levels, K through 12. Even within Ozoblockly, like usually a lot of people think of color codes being that entry point, and it really is a great starting point, but every learner learns a little different, and sometimes Ozoblockly might be where they just kind of naturally pick up things. So we have different skill levels within Ozoblockly that makes it really something you can use across the grade bands, used across subjects. So we were surprised and happy to find out that 74% of users teach core subjects with Ozobot. And Melissa will be diving into some of our lessons to show different ways that we incorporate into Common Core State Math, ELA, ISTE, CSTA, all those fun standards that y'all love. And then something used across learning styles. There's a study where they used Ozobot, and was just and something I hear in my day-to-day, just a great way to engage students with different learning styles. And I think I'll pass it to Melissa.
Sounds great. Thanks, Anthony. So I'm going to dive into content that our team has created for you all. When COVID-19 hit and shut down schools, we really wanted to make it a priority to support teachers, knowing that the circumstances were unprecedented, and knowing ELA and math were probably going to be the main focus of subjects and teaching, but we really didn't want students to lose out on the experience of robotics and computing because, again, like Anthony said, that engagement factor and the exposure factor is so important in their elementary school lives. So what we did was we came up with our video lesson series where we've developed quite a bit of content that covers 2nd through 8th grade. And the lessons I'll cover what comes in all of the lessons, but we do recommend a pacing about 1 lesson per week. The lessons are about 30 to 45 minutes. Middle school lessons are probably about an hour long. We made them developmentally appropriate and easy enough that if a student wanted to do the lesson asynchronously, you have all of the tools to make that happen. All of our lessons are standards aligned with at least 1 ISTE standard, 1 CSTA standard, and then 1 content standard, which would be Common Core Math, ELA, or NGSS. All of these lessons do have a synchronous lesson plan. So if you are a teacher that is comfortable teaching computer science and you know all the concepts and skills, you're welcome to use that. If you are not as confident, or you're working with teachers who are interested in implementing but don't really know where to start, we have that instructional video. It's student facing. You can also use that video to send to students. They can self-pace, self-guide, and complete the lesson completely on their own. So that serves dual purposes, supporting teachers who may not be as confident and also guiding students through who maybe want to work independently. They all also include student activity guides, all the sheets, and a teacher answer key and a potential solution. So everything that you need is available for you in each of our lessons. I'm going to go to Ozobot Classroom to show you how to find the lessons. Ozobot Classroom is our free learning platform. You can create a free account, and if you click on lessons, this will take you into our lesson library. And Anthony mentioned earlier, our library consists of internally developed lessons and then also externally developed lessons, which means externally developed are from any teachers from around the world can submit their lesson ideas. Now I'm going to scroll down to show you some examples of remote friendly lessons. So this filter here is actually going to change to video lesson. So I'm going to click on that filter, and you'll notice that that remote friendly filter actually comes up, which means it has that video lesson. The video is there for you to explore and for you to send to students to utilize and to guide through their learning. So you can go to the lesson library and check that out. I'm going to go over a couple examples of some content integrated lessons that we have prepared for you. So for example, in 5th grade, there is a math lesson where students are learning about standard form, word form, and expanded form of numbers. So if you're not familiar with Ozobot Evo and Ozobot Bit, when Ozobot comes to an intersection and you do not give it a color code that tells it which direction to travel in, it actually makes a random decision. So in this case, the bot is serving as a randomization tool. Every time the bot gets placed on this path, it will randomly travel to one of the legs of this map. So what students do is they place it on the map 6 times, they record the digits that the bot chooses, then it's their responsibility to write that number in standard form, word form, and expanded form. Let me play you a quick clip of this lesson so that you can see what the instructional video looks and feels like, so you can kind of get an idea of the experience that your students have when using these videos. 1 second, it looks like I need to allow sound access here. Let's try this one more time. Okay, that should work now. Ozobot is ready to make a 6-digit number. Are you? We'll place our bot on start. Then we'll watch as it follows the pathway until it gets to a digit. Once it reaches a digit, we will write this digit in the hundreds place under standard form. My bot made it to the number 1. In the first place here, I will write 1. Then we'll repeat this 5 times to program Ozobot to move from start to complete my decimal number. My second number is 0. My third number is 9. Since it's truly random, your bot might choose the same number multiple times. How many digits or places will your number have when you are done? So you can see in this example, we walk students through each step. This is just one step in that whole video and in the whole activity. We also front load information. We let them know what the lesson objectives are, what materials they need, and front loading of any prior knowledge that they need in the lesson video as well. These lesson videos are available for you to come back and peruse on your own when you're when you get the slides. Let me actually, I'm going to move on to our ELA slide, but there is another clip for you to check out, but you get the idea there. In 2nd grade, this is an example of an ELA lesson. And what the students do is they fill in the line jump color code. And what that does is it tells the bot to go over the white space and to look for a new line. So the students place their bot on start, it travels by a prefix, and then it'll jump this white space, go and find this black line, and randomly choose a suffix. I'm sorry, a root word, not a suffix. And so what students do is they pay attention closely, and if, let's say, the bot travels by dis and then comes all the way down here and travels to move, they would combine the prefix dis and move to make the word dis move, and they have to determine whether it's a real word or not. And if not, they have to use the root word with a different prefix. So remove would be that word with a different prefix, and then define that word. So that's an example of how that activity works. Let me play a clip so that you all can see. Let's place Ozobot on start on the prefix chooser, and it will randomly turn down one of the prefix rows. My Ozobot chose the prefix pre. The Ozobot jumped across the empty space because of the line switch code and headed over to the root word chooser. My Ozobot chose the root word able. On my prefix activity sheet, I will write pre plus able. When I put these two words together, I get the word pre-able. I'll write that on the next line after the equal sign. You'll notice that there's also... Can you place your bot on start and choose a prefix and a root word? You'll notice that we actively ask students to follow along as well so that they know exactly what to do and they're not so overwhelmed by the assignment or what they're doing, so they walk through it with us. So it's really bite-sized, it's really comprehensible, it's really easy for students that I follow along with. Great, so we also have STEAM and SEL content. For those of you that are not familiar with SEL, that stands for Social Emotional Learning. One example of this is our gratitude party lesson, where students create a map that shows the different things they are grateful for, and then they code their bot to have different behaviors when it's passing those items, and then celebrates at the end at a Thanksgiving party. So I'll show you a quick clip of what that final part looks like. Ozobot is ready to head to the gratitude party. Before you put your bot on start, make sure all your color codes are filled in. I'm going to use black marker to not give away any of the answers, but you will have color codes. Also, don't forget that your bot will want to do a bit of dancing when it gets to the party. So fill in green, then blue, so that your bot can do a dance when it gets to the party. Power on and place Ozobot at start. Sorry, it looks like we're having a bit... Ozobot is ready to head to the gratitude party. It just restarted that video. Before you put your bot on start. But actually, that's the bot ends, and then we ask the students to follow along and to complete that lesson. So that was an example of our gratitude party and SEL content. I noticed that Nancy asked which level of Ozobot would be best to start for middle school students. Nancy, you read our minds. We actually have a series, Introduction to Ozobot is coming out very soon. So depending on what skill level your students are at, even if they have some block coding experience, we would recommend that students start with this series. We actually use the CSTA standards to help us design the series, where we start with basic training and we go all the way through skills like sequencing, loops, conditionals. We teach them about variables and line following and debugging, and they actually have 2 different opportunities to do a skills check where they use all of the concepts that they learned in previous lessons to solve a problem and to show that they are able to use Ozobot Blockly to meet those challenge criteria. It looks like Nancy is asking how long the series would take. Each one of these lessons is probably about 45 minutes long. So depending on how you want to break it up, you could do multiple lessons in a day or do 1 lesson at a time. That's 9 days of lessons if you do 1 lesson a day. So that will be published soon, so keep your eyes peeled. It will definitely be available before back to school, because we are putting final touches on these videos and the documents. So those will be available very soon in the Ozobot lesson library. We are also creating a elementary school version of this series because elementary school standards and their developmental ability is a little bit different. Their series looks a tiny bit different. So for example, some students in 2nd grade are not looking at variables or coding with variables. And I believe in second grade, they may or may not be doing conditional statements, or their conditional statements are just much more simplified. So that's a really good place to get started. If you're not familiar with block-based coding, or if you don't know where to start, I highly recommend starting with these lessons. Something else that we want to highlight about our lessons is that we know that computer science in the industry is very, it's not diverse. The pipeline is also a leaky pipeline. There's lots of data and studies to show how girls and students of color, how they are excluded from equitable computing activities. So in our sphere of influence, we really wanted to make sure that we represented students, no matter what their background is, no matter what they look like, and no matter what type of community they live in. So we've started that by creating holiday and seasonal lessons to represent different types of students from different types of backgrounds. And in our lesson materials, we also feature students with different skin tones, different skin colors, so that no matter what a student looks like, they can see themselves represented in what they're learning. In addition to that, we also have prioritize accessibility. So all of our lessons include that instructional video and student activity guide. So depending on the needs of your students, if they need a hard copy, that's available for them. We've created chaptered videos so that students can self-pace and self-guide. And we also include text instructions for any students that cannot access the auditory features of the videos. These lessons are available to students at any grade level and any skill level, and students with color vision deficiency, we also have color code support for them so that they're not excluded from the learning circumstances and the activities. Great, Nancy is asking a question. She's asking if students with special needs might be able to use the lower levels. That is absolutely correct. In Ozobot, we do have a pre-reader level, which level 1 has no reading needed. It's all symbols and colors, and students can use Ozobot. Let me show you level 1 here. These are all symbols and pictures and numbers so that it's accessible for any learner or any person who would like to code. Great question there. All right, I believe I'm going to pass it over to Anthony. Anthony, do you want to share your screen, or should I just continue on to the next slide?
We're already on the next slide, so we can stay here. So y'all have Ozobots, which is awesome. I think a lot of y'all were in the middle school grade range. There was a question about how many bot ratio bots to students. Typically pre-COVID, we had recommended a 2-to-1. So 2 students to 1 robot, kind of a paired programming approach, really reinforcing that one of those 4 C's collaborations that students can work together. We did release our hybrid program during these crazy COVID times, and part of that was no shared materials. So in that case, or in this case, it's more of like a 1-to-1 where every student gets an Ozobot. Y'all have access to all of these lessons, the video lessons. There's also within Ozobot Classroom bot camp training, which goes over color codes and Ozobot. Takes about an hour to complete, gets you really comfortable so that you can implement in the classroom. And then you have all those lessons that Melissa shared with you. The nice thing is if 2-to-1, sorry, reading, if 2-to-1 students in different classes use the same set. Yes. Yep. You can use the same EVA robot across multiple classes. And I lost my train of thought, and I will try to find it. I think that's everything on this. I guess one other thing to note is, with our integrations into ELA and math and science and really into the core subjects, Ozobot is CARES Act eligible. So if you're looking for ways to combat learning loss, and you already have Ozobots, you might be a way to, for those purchases, get a reimbursement. So reach out to our team and we can kind of help facilitate that on our end as much as we can. And I think after this is just questions. But I could be wrong.
Sorry, could you repeat that, Anthony?
Oh, is the next slide just questions?
Oh, yes. Sorry. It's Q&A.
Yeah.
My dog's decided.
No, just questions. We're not doing answers today. We're just doing questions. We're not gonna.
Sorry about that. My dog's decided to, be naughty right in that moment. So I apologize. But yes, so it looks like Lindsay has a question. How do we know what lessons were created by Ozobot versus what's user-generated content? That's a really great question. In our filter, you can sort by community lessons or Ozobot created lessons under more filters. So you can see the author here is Ozobot or community. You can also see that this little Ozobot sign on the bottom left means that it was an Ozobot generated lesson. And those that don't have that symbol is a community created lesson. I will say though, if you're looking for the video lessons, make sure it has that remote friendly icon or that video lesson icon. This just means it's a Ozobot developed lesson, but it may not necessarily have the video content attached with it. So great question. And I do want to go back and revisit Nancy's question about what level would be best to start with for middle school. Honestly, it really depends what your student's ability level is. If students, are beginner, you could start at level 2. I believe in those introductory lessons, we have students use levels 3 and 4 in those introduction to Ozoblockly lessons, but they could go up to level 5. But we generally in our lessons stick to 3 and 4 for that middle school content area. But depending on your students' ability levels, you can play around to see what works best for them. Were there any other questions that came through the chat?
I think you covered them all, but I did allow everyone to speak if they wanted to ask questions directly to you. And if you don't want to talk, you can also just put them in the Q&A.
Wonderful. Thanks for doing that, Cassandra. Yeah, if you feel moved to unmute yourself and ask any questions, you're more than welcome to do so.
So can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it's Nancy again. Sorry I put my questions in the chat. I didn't even realize that the Q&A was something separate.
No problem, no problem.
We're going to be using, we bought the some Ozobots, but I haven't used them because of, distance learning and everything. So, but next year, as part of one of my CTE classes, we're going to be doing like an intro to coding type of unit using Ozobot. So would you, and again, middle schoolers, some have, some experience, but most are going to be relatively new to coding. So would you say start with the lesson series that you just said was going to be coming out soon? Would that
Yes.
be kind of the best place to start? And then after that, choose, some additional lessons?
Absolutely. If you have the time and the ability to start with those lessons, we've made it super easy for you. We've created all the content, all of the worksheets are available, the video lessons to guide your students through that content. It's all created for you so that you don't have to do any of that heavy lifting, and it'll give your students a really solid foundation for all the capabilities of Ozobot Blockly and the Ozobot. They'll use everything from, Blockly to the sensors, like Anthony had shown you the tag. That's actually one of the skills. Actually, I think it's the conditional statement lesson. So they'll be able to code that tag game themselves. So that's an example of one of the lessons that we actually walk them through. That's a really great question.
So as I am writing kind of the goals for the unit and stuff, would you say it would be appropriate to have something like students understanding the things like variables and functions and conditions and things like that?
Absolutely. And actually in our lesson plans, I can actually show you, we do have lesson objectives to make things easier for you. So if it's helping you sequence the lessons and understand what for example, the objectives are, those, we've already written those out for you. This is like a fully, here we go. Outcomes and objectives are there for you. And if you want to reach out to Anthony, I believe he has, we're starting to create a pacing guide that will be available for fall. But if that might be helpful for you to take a look at to help you plan for fall, we can absolutely share that with you and send that to you as a sneak peek before we share it with the general public.
Yeah, that'd be great, because I'm actually writing the course outline to be approved by the district, and I have to turn that in the next couple days.
Yeah, email us, because I've created that pacing guide and included all of the objectives, or at least the main objectives and the standards they tied to for these introductory lessons in particular. So that might be really, really helpful for you.
So
in
I should contact Anthony?
Yes, you can email Anthony directly.
And ask for the scope
pacing guide.
Oh no, it's
Okay,
Nancy from Colorado. It's gonna be the pacing guide. I got you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Looks like Bill has his hand up if he wants to chime in. All right, well, Bill, if you feel moved to chime in and ask any questions, feel free to do so.
Okay, I think I just unmuted myself.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
There we go. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, it's a very practical question. I have a set and I've just started using them. And there were problems with students being able to identify their own. So we have a whole set and they're trying to connect, and they weren't able to do that. So I've gone in and given them all names and want to put the names onto the EVOs in a way that, of course, won't disturb the functions of the sensors, and still want to be able to see the lights and things. Do you have any ideas about that? One idea that I had was that you could etch them. I have an etching pen, so that I was somewhere in the plastic, I could, small letters, write their names. Do you have any suggestions about how they could be labeled?
Yeah, actually in our office, we use tiny little, almost like dot stickers, and we stick them onto the bot and just label them that way. Anthony, I don't know if you've heard of any other creative ways to help label and identify the bots.
I usually say the same thing you're saying.
Yeah, okay, great.
Okay, I was hoping to give them names, which take more space, but if I wanted to do that, perhaps I could do that on the top of them, where the lights, where the lights are not.
Yeah, I think that's a great option. We'd love to see it as well. We know teachers have gotten super creative, so even using different types of sticker labels and mailing labels could potentially work as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think we had another hand raise. Ted raised his hand. Ted, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I got a little, I think 10 or 15 millimeter label printer to use, and stick them right onto the bots there. And if you give them pretty short names, they don't take up too much space on the Ozobot.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thanks for that suggestion, Ted. Wonderful suggestion. All right, great. Feel free to, again, chime in.
There was one more in the Q&A.
Oh, there are. Okay, great. Thanks, Anthony, for catching that. Oh, great question. Are there ever challenges with the Bluetooth pairing with multiple devices being used simultaneously? So we actually came out about a year ago, or a year or so ago, we came out with the Ozobot classroom communicator, which I believe Anthony is looking for right now. It's a little USB dongle that plugs into any power source. It doesn't have to be your computer. There's Anthony holding it up. And it actually, this is a device that I believe, have patented to specifically connect to 18 bots at one time so that there are little to no issues connecting simultaneously. So, Lindsay, I'm not sure if you have a recent classroom kit, but Cassandra, do you know how they would be able to get their hands on? Oh, Crystal, looks like Crystal has put into the chat, which I will copy and paste into, oh, whoops, nope, that is not it. And there we go. You can request one if one did not come with your classroom kit. Great question. It looks like Bill has had success with pairing all of his devices. So congratulations. Thanks for sharing that.
I didn't see what he was holding up, which doesn't really matter, but I'm not sure I understand. With the dongle, then does it just pair to one device, or do you have to move it to, I'm a little confused on this.
Yeah, Anthony, do you want to chime in there about the communicator?
Yeah, the communicator, at least right now, is really good at updating multiple bots at one time. As far as Bluetooth signals, we've done a lot without the dongle, just like in kind of other environments, for to try and pick up the closest device in proximity. So one of the things we do, well, back in the day, we used to do EDU trade shows, and there's multiple Bluetooth devices, like that can be a nightmare. But we were able to work in that environment, and we would just put it literally on top, just so that it, as easily as possible, can detect that. And just making sure you have the naming conventions that everybody's talking about, like that'll make it a lot easier to make sure you connect to the right bot. If you had Evo a few years ago, you would have been battling. Anybody could claim an Evo and take it from you. So now we've made it a lot more simple and more useful. Hopefully that answered anything you'd add, Melissa?
No, I think you covered it. Wendy is asking, can those in Canada request a communicator as well? Cassandra or Anthony, do you have any insight into that?
Go ahead, Cassandra.
As far as I know, it's available in the US, but this might be something, Wendy, if you wouldn't mind reaching out to support@ozobot.com, I think that they would have a more true answer than I can come up with. I don't know if any of our distributors in Canada have the communicators, but they might. So if you wouldn't mind just reaching out, we can look in and confirm for you.
Great. I'm not sure if more hands were raised while we were answering that question, but feel free to unmute yourself and chime in if you do have a question. All right, great. I think
I had a comment.
Oh yeah, go for it.
I just wanted to say that I have a communicator. I'm in Denmark, and it just came with the set. It was also the converter, the adapter is something obviously for American, but it came with a converter, so it works in this country as well. And also just using the communicator, I followed the instructions, and what happened was that all of the bots came up, and then I was able to go in and give them names and work with them differently. It went pretty easily, and I'm not experienced with it, so it's working well for me.
Great to hear that. Thanks for sharing. And please, anyone, feel free to reach out if you do run into any trouble or confusion. Our team is always here to help support if it does not go smoothly, but we're hoping it goes smoothly for everyone. All right, so I believe we can move into our wrap up before we do our giveaway. If you would like to request a demo or a quote, you can go to ozobot.com. We also have free simulators. We have Ozoblockly challenges. If you go to ozobot.com, you click on create, and there's challenges there. There's some free games that you can use with students that really use the simulator and have them start using their critical thinking skills and logical sequencing skills. If you want a grant funding tool, we have resources for that. And you can also sign up for Ozobot Classroom account at classroom.ozobot.com, where we have Bot Camp, which is a training in how to use the bot, and you can also explore lessons there. And so we will go ahead and do our giveaway. Cassandra, do you have the random numbers that we will choose from today?
Let me pull that up.
And the way that the giveaway worked was that when you filled out that form, your name and email address went into a spreadsheet where we are randomly going to choose a number from.
Yes, and that is going to be a random number between 2 and 25. I don't know who you want to choose.
Anthony, would you like to choose a number between 2 and 25?
Yeah, and so just before I select a number, it's pretty cool that we have the United States, Denmark, Canada, like it's so cool that we have so many people from across the world on this call. But I will choose a number. So 2 to 25, I'll go with 23.
23 is Lindsay Kent.
Congratulations, Lindsay.
Congrats.
Please email Cassandra at ozobot.com to claim your prize, and we'll get that to you as soon as we can. Great.
Yeah, just to note, we're back ordered right now. They're sold out, and so it'll ship sometime this summer, just so you're aware, Lindsay.
Wonderful. Thanks, Cassandra. All right. Well, we very much appreciate everyone taking the time to spend with us today and to learn more about Ozobot. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to support@ozobot.com. Thanks, Anthony, for such a great demo today. And thank you all. Stay safe and healthy out there, and we'll see you all soon. Oh, actually, one last comment. We do have a regular webinars. This is our last before our summer holiday, or I guess your summer holidays as educators starts. So we are still in the office, busy working away to support you all. But keep your eyes peeled on our webinar page for fall webinars, as we'll be updating those, and we have some really, really great content coming up. So have a wonderful summer, and we'll see you all again in the fall. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.